Okay, so I'm here with Kyle Reid, and Kyle has a very interesting story to tell about himself and his relationship with the Windsor Spitfires. And this story takes us back to the first time the Spitfires won a Memorial Cup. And that, Kyle, tell us what year that was.
It was 2009. We were still playing at the old barn. We played half the year at the barn, and then we played the second half in the new place. Also, the year that Mickey Reno died. So, I mean, it brought a little more meaning to winning the Memorial Cup that year, even though the team wasn't built to win it until, the following year.
They won back-to-back, 2009, 2010?
Correct.
Okay, so they won their Memorial Cup that year. Who were some of the players that were on that team?
Geez, it was Adam Henrique. There was Harry Young. There was Taylor Hall.
Taylor Hall went first overall. He was probably their best known piece, but guys like Adam Henrique and Ryan Ellis and then Philip Grubauer were also very well known. They won their first Memorial Cup, and the city was very, very happy. We had, I remember, celebrations. What can you tell us about that?
There was parties everywhere. Every time you went out on the weekend, I mean, especially, during that summer. I mean, I remember Red Bull weekend bumping into Bob Bugner downtown at a bar. And he says, "Come here, I want to show you something." And he brought me in, and the bar was jammed with people. He told me to grab a beer off the table behind me, which I did. And then I turned around, and DJ Smith was, one of the coaches was holding the Memorial Cup. He was handing it to me. He said, "Dump it in." So I dumped the bottle of beer in. The team that won it the year before, the Spokane Chiefs, had broken it. And they didn't do a very good job repairing it. So when you poured the beer in, it came out just as quick as you poured it in. So you had to pick it up, and I pretty much dumped beer all over myself.
So you had a unique relationship with the Spitfires that season. Talk a little bit about your relationship with the team and how you were known around the WFCU Center.
Well, I was always kind of loud going to the games. I mean, I always sat center ice, and I would, chirp a little bit at the opposing team and try and get our guys going. When we opened up the new arena, a company approached me and asked me if I'd like to be the super fan. I asked what it required. Well, they wanted me to paint my face and act like a Yahoo. And I'd never painted my face before, but I wasn't going to give up this opportunity. Yeah, we shot this video. It was only supposed to be shown for the opening night, the new building. And while they ended up showing it every night when the place opened for 2 years solid.
Yeah, you ended up being known as the
super fan.
Yeah, you were the Spitfire super fan, and then they ended up winning the Memorial Cup that year. They weren't expected to win. They did it on the road. They had to come back from a lot of deficits, and they had to basically win out after losing a couple hard games, and they did. And it was just a dream season, and then they ended up bringing the Memorial Cup back to Windsor, did the parade. All the players got to have it, and then what happened after all the players got to take it home for a day?
I always wanted to, get my hands on it for a day, but it's pretty protected. I mean, it's a national icon, right? I mean, they don't just let anybody have this thing. So I didn't really think too hard about it until the next season started, and I was in the office, and I saw a picture on a slideshow that they had going in the office of a guy that I know, Matt McAvoy, driving away with the Memorial Cup. And I says to Rob Gagnon, I says, "Hey," I says, "you let him have it?" And he says, "Kyle," he says, "I'm so sorry." He says, "I never even thought." He says, "Next time." And I looked at him and I shook his hand and I says, "Next time." Because again, like I said, we weren't supposed to win it the first year. We built this team to win it the following year.
And so that was the next season. So they ended up going back the next year, and they had an even better team the next year. They basically won every game. There was never a doubt that they were going to win it, and they did. So they brought it back, and then you ended up holding Rob Gagnon, who was the media representative. You ended up holding him to his promise, and tell us what happened.
Well, I called him the night that they won it, and he was still partying at the arena, and he answered his phone, and I says, "Congratulations, holy crap, this is amazing." And I says, "You remember what you said?" And he says, "I remember." He says, "I'll see you soon." September 5th that year, myself and my friend Mike Evans, we picked it up. We did a bit of a milk run. We went to see my mom and dad, and it was just us. There was no escort. It was just us in the cup. I got it, and I put it in the front seat, and I just hugged onto it like a baby. I just didn't want to let it go. My dad was surprised we didn't have like the Mounties following us around. We went to the hospital to see my father-in-law. We had a little party downtown that was going to be at a bar for a couple hours just so my friends could come and see it. But one of my friends who works at the liquor store wasn't able to come, so we brought it down to the liquor store, and we were drinking out of it in the back room of the liquor store. We went to your uncle's place.
Yeah, we went to my Uncle Randy's house. We went to my cousin Greg's place. We went to a couple more bars downtown. We ended up bringing it to some strangers' houses. There was a lady who was bedridden at that point. She was probably in her 90s, and her daughter or granddaughter saw us on the street and asked us to bring it in and show it to her, and it really boosted her spirits. That was a very, very memorable day, and of course I had the camera, and I was documenting pretty much the whole thing. When we look back now on the tape, there's a lot of good memories in there, and a lot of people who are no longer with us, and we can have those great memories. It meant a lot to a lot of people.
Absolutely. Everywhere we went, we were out front of the hospital, and there was a lady that I'd never seen before, and she saw me. She just practically started crying. You know, I sent her some pictures, and boy, she was just over the moon. It was bringing joy to everybody, and it was easy for me to take 10 minutes out and go see her.
Yeah, it was just kind of fun also walking the streets of downtown Windsor, and we did some really fun shots that we set up. You walking by the Welcome to Windsor sign, and us walking down Chatham Street and going up to my buddy's loft apartment.
Abbey Road. Oh, yeah, playing foosball. We played foosball for the Memorial Cup.
Yeah, and then the day, of course, had to come to an end at some point. And I remember at the very end of the day, you got a little emotional.
Yeah, well, we're sitting in Rob's driveway. Originally, I was only supposed to have it from noon until 4, but my buddy, my best friend, was stuck on a train. So I'm pretty sure we were in his driveway around 11:30 at night. I didn't want it to end. I didn't want to give it back. It was tough handing over, but what an amazing, amazing day.
I think you started to cry a little bit.
Yeah, you want to keep bringing that up? Oh, jeez.
But just the chain of events that had to happen in order for us to be able to have the Memorial Cup to ourselves for a day and take it around. Two guys who aren't on the team, you know, you were the super fan, and that was kind of an in because you became kind of like an unofficial mascot for the team that year, and people rallied behind you, and you were a really big spirit and a really big part of that, and everybody in your section loved you. All the opposing players knew who you were and gave you a hard time, and you gave them
They hated me, boy.
But all the things that had to fall into place. They had to win it the first year. You had to jokingly ask when you get a chance to take it. And then he had to promise you the second year, not thinking in a million years, maybe, because they had a good team. But
it's a tough trophy to win. They say it's the hardest trophy in sports to win. You have to beat everybody in your league, and then you have to beat the champs of the 3 other leagues. These guys are tough as nails.
So a lot of things really had to go right in order for us to get to have that thing for the day, and they did. It goes back to something that I like to say is you don't get anywhere unless you ask, and you asked, so congratulations to you.
Thanks a lot, Mike. It was a great time. Thanks for filling that. That was fun.